Audi is desperate to get into Formula 1 by buying an existing team, and for several months, McLaren has always been mentioned in connection with that. The intention is for Audi to enter Formula 1 in 2026 by developing its own engine, a project that is awaiting the final sign-off but has effectively been confirmed by the Volkswagen Group. McLaren has admitted to having talks with Audi, and the door might still be open to some kind of deal, but not if Audi's demands stay the same. Audi has never raced in F1, but that looks increasingly likely to change for 2026. F1's new engine rules have been specifically framed with the VW Group in mind. The MGU-H will disappear and be replaced by an increase in electrical energy and the adoption of 100% sustainable fuels. This action was considered a prerequisite of Audi joining the grid. Its intention is to take on the development of the F1 spec V6 internal combustion engine that VW sister brand Porsche built and dyno tested only a few years ago. But Audi's left arguably the hardest bit until last, finding a team. It's not been linked with starting a new one from scratch and is unlikely to be satisfied with just being an engine supplier, like Honda was to McLaren and then Red Bull. Audi wants a stake, and in the last few months McLaren, Aston Martin, Williams and Sauber have all been linked to it. McLaren only has a Mercedes engine deal until the end of the 2025 season, and at the end of 2020 it sold a significant minority stake in the racing division. It is also open to new investment and technological partnerships, so it seems like an obvious place for Audi to start. Rumours of Audi's interest in McLaren got so out of control last year there was even a story that McLaren had agreed a sale, which prompted McLaren to issue a strong and public denial. But what has never been denied is that conversations have taken place. And when we were at the recent Miami Grand Prix, McLaren Racing CEO Zak Brown spoke more openly than ever about his organisation's Audi discussions. Essentially, McLaren and Audi have held talks over a potential F1 partnership, but selling the team has been emphatically ruled out. McLaren doesn't want to sell, nor does it want to relinquish the name of the team, which means unless Audi's demands change, there is no chance of a deal being done there. Zak Brown didn't want to get into the specific details of what Audi wanted and how McLaren responded, but he stressed that the team would remain under McLaren's name and its control. And we know that Audi wants to buy a team and brand it in its own image. But McLaren's starting point for any conversation about a potential partnership is that the team will still be McLaren's team, so there's no discussion to be had if someone wants that to change. You might be thinking, what the hell is McLaren doing by playing hard to get when a works deal with Audi is on the table? We'll do our best to further explain the rationale in the next part of this video. If you're enjoying the explanation so far, show some love by giving us a thumbs up, and if you aren't already a subscriber, please think about changing that and click the button below. It's free, it's easy to do, and it really helps us out. The chance to be Audi's works F1 team doesn't come along very often. In fact, after years and years of speculation and attempts to tempt the manufacturer into Formula 1, it might seem ridiculous for any team that isn't currently a leading force to say, actually, we don't need Audi. But that's exactly what McLaren's position is at the moment. F1 and its teams are on a strong financial footing again after the COVID-19 pandemic. There's a huge appetite for races, and the championship stakeholders have agreed a series of major changes designed to distribute revenue more fairly and make all the teams more competitive. At the same time as the prospective Andretti entry is discovering, F1's treating its grid like a closed shop. The existing 10 teams have priority and protection to increase their value. Buying into one therefore comes at a higher price than before, so for a while now we've been told that Audi may find it difficult to find a team that can give it what it wants for the price it's willing to pay. That's the general context. As for McLaren specifically, it's not a particularly motivated seller. It gained significant new investment in late 2020 that eased major financial concerns around the team. We made a whole video about that, and it's worth checking that out. MSP Capital paid £185 million for a stake in McLaren Racing, only rising to a maximum of 33%, giving a hint of what the organisation was valued at even then. And McLaren believes it's on a trajectory to the front of Formula 1 anyway, with a new wind tunnel and simulator being built and obvious on-track improvements in recent years. When we asked Zak Brown about McLaren seemingly being able to dictate a new partnership on its own terms in the context of turning down Audi, he said, "We're in a really strong position and we weren't 18 months ago. Our terms for any partnership would be we retain ownership of the racing team. And if anyone wants to have a conversation that is different to that, then there's no conversation to be had." Brown reeled off a list of reasons for that position: shareholder commitment, performance on track, major investments, a strong commercial platform, and good team morale. And McLaren's argument does seem to broadly make sense. When the Bahraini stakeholders have bailed out McLaren during the difficult combination of poor on-track results, the loss of Honda and its massive financial commitment, and then the COVID-19 pandemic, why would they forfeit control when the team is on the ascent again? Why would MSP Capital sell up so soon after investing? And would it really be in the best interest of the racing team to lose the McLaren name and hand a UK-based organisation to an inexperienced F1 manufacturer whose commitment would forever be at the mercy of a boardroom in Germany? The answer to those questions don't play in Audi's favour. F1 at the moment is a seller's market, and McLaren feels it can call the shots. While McLaren has been very keen to shut down talk of an outright sale, Zak Brown has left the door open to a works engine deal similar to what McLaren had with Honda from 2015 to 2017. He said that while McLaren won't consider a buyout, it's up to team boss Andreas Seidel to decide what power unit he wants in the back of the car. The implication is that Audi might have more success if it lowered its expectations and sought out some kind of engine partnership. That wouldn't necessarily preclude a minority investment either. Mercedes' works team, for example, is only 1/3 owned by Daimler. The rest is split evenly between team boss Toto Wolff and a British company called Ineos. A works Audi engine appeals to McLaren because there is still an underlying thought that a team needs a bespoke power unit design to have the highest possible performance potential. Only Mercedes, Ferrari, Alpine, and in a different way Red Bull all have that at the moment. The rest of the teams are out and out customers. Since the V6 turbo hybrid era began in 2014, only 15 of the 165 races have been won by customer teams. Most of those fall to Red Bull at the end of its Renault era, with McLaren, AlphaTauri and Racing Point all scoring a solitary victory in that period. So we put Brown's sentiment to Seidel himself, asking him if a works team is top of the list for McLaren to eliminate its lingering deficit to F1's top teams. And he admitted that McLaren having its own engine is always something you would explore as a team in our situation. But he also implied that McLaren does have other shortcomings to address, so there is no reason at all to consider changing its engine arrangement at the moment. And he stressed that McLaren is very happy to have a long-term partnership in place with Mercedes. That again puts the ball in Audi's court. It essentially tells the manufacturer that it needs to convince McLaren it's worth splitting with a partner it's happy with. Audi's only alternative is to convince someone else like Aston Martin or Sauber to sell instead. Because unless Audi's willing to change the conditions of its F1 entry, McLaren looks like an absolute no-go.